We have another testimonial interview for you. My good friend Lawrence Tai, former product manager at Nike, just landed a very hot product manager role. Lawrence, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Rich? Doing well, man. Thanks again for having me.
Of course, of course. I think you're actually one of the few people that I've gotten a chance to work with that actually know me from my recruiter days.
Oh yeah.
No joke, we met like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Time
We've
has
come a long way. We've come a long way since then.
Oh man, say less. Those are very different times.
The
I'm
golden
glad
days,
for both of
man.
us. I'm glad for both of us. So, Lawrence, you were a product manager over there at Nike. And then just like a lot of people throughout this like crazy market that we're navigating, we are going through like it was a lot of volatility this time that you're doing the job hunt. Like, tell us a little bit
Yes.
more about your background. Like, what were you doing before product management, and then how you transitioned, and then kind of like what was your experience in this round's job hunt?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it is unfortunate that Nike had to let me go as of late. But I think it's also just part of the experience and it's just gonna help you grow, kind of prep me, in line for the next opportunity, right? Like what they say, all good things must come to an end. And even though Nike was a big, part of me and, part of my career, I think it's helping me build that next step, kind of, sort of that next stepping stone. But in regards to that, how I got into product management was, for me personally, it was through business analyst, right? But even before business analyst, I was a QA analyst. So that kind of helped me build a foundation of understanding the technical jargons and the technical background, and kind of build that foundation for me to become a business analyst. And then from understanding business analyst, understanding requirements, requirement analysis, and understanding, different sorts of testing, and working cross-functionally with, different teams. That kind of led me to, a breakthrough within product management and understanding the, technical aspects, understanding system development lifecycle, and then eventually, going into product development lifecycle. So I think for me, it was just the next level up. Everything that I did prior literally just built me set me up, so to speak. But that isn't to say that you need to go through that exact, roadmap, right? Of like, hey, you need the technical background. Hey, you need to be a business analyst. Hey, you need to have that business analyst background. I think anybody with a sense of, um, you know, understanding of how, you know, corporate structure works or understanding how to work um, cross-functionally with teams or just having good communication, whether it be, speaking to your coworkers or working alongside with your coworkers or understanding how to escalate, issues to, seniority or, leadership. That all helps with product management. So I don't think people might have a vision of like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, or I need to have this, or I need to have that to become a product manager. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you don't know it yet, but you already probably have the skills to do so. You just haven't been shown what you need to do to become a product manager. Um,
100%.
but yeah, as far as me being let go, this time around, I think like you said before, it's definitely a lot more. Um, I know now what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm definitely, applying again. I wouldn't say that I let go of the gas as far as applications go. It's just as if it was day one, where, 50 to 100 applications a day, right? And it's just constantly numbers, quantity over quality. You want to get yourself out there. A lot of people are like, oh, now that I work for a big name, or oh, I broke myself into product management, getting my next product and but getting my next product management opportunity should be easier. No, it's just getting tougher and tougher. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, they might be like, oh, I have a shoe in since let's take myself for example. Oh, I have a shoe in at Nike. So, now that I'm sitting on top of this, now I have Nike under my belt. It's like, oh, I could, let loose a little bit. It's like, no, like just as you are growing and you are becoming familiar with product management, the product management field is also getting more, um, what's the word? They're getting more like it's not as general anymore, right? They know exactly what questions to ask. They know it's not a broad um field anymore, right? It's getting more technical by the day, by the minute, right? So before it was like, oh, this is a new area like product management. We don't know exactly what we want. Now corporations and companies, they know exactly what they want from their product managers. So yeah, 25, 25 plus, 50 applications, even 100. Again, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
How many interviews were you averaging like a week?
I would say, ooh, I would say you probably wouldn't believe this if I told you, but I would say like 20 to 25 plus interviews a week. Just constantly like applying because at the end of the day, and the reason why I say you might not believe me, because if you do send out 50 plus applications a day, if you send out 50 to 100 applications a day, in the beginning you might not see any like return, right? You're like, oh man, like this is week one, week two. I've been shooting like applications out. That all takes time, right? It's like that snowball effect. It's like when you start something, it's gonna go slow, but towards the end, because you sent so many applications day in, day out, dude, I'm telling you, by like the second month or the third month, like those and conglomerate corporations, companies, they take a while, right? They have tons of applications coming in. So at the end of the day, they might not get back to you immediately, but eventually they'll start going through their applications, and that's when they will start seeing you. And by that time, like probably towards like the end of the second month, third month, and then into the fourth, you'll probably get tons of callbacks or emails following up saying, "Hey, we would love to interview you." So by the time I was done, through all my applications, I was literally like going through like I had so many interviews set up like each week, into like the third, fourth month. So yeah, I literally, sometimes I would have 3 or 4 interviews a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, one in like late afternoon. And it was just, again, it's a quantity game, right? And the reason why you want to do that is because it helps you uh with your interview process, like the interviewing process. And you might not want these companies. You're probably asking, how are you even able to apply to so many companies? It's like, no, I'm applying to companies that I don't even want to like apply for, but it's gonna help me eventually get that company that I do want when that application hits. It's like, all right, I've been through so many like interviews already that this is just second nature to me. It's just habitual. So yeah,
Oh.
to answer your question, like 20 25 plus interviews a week.
How many offers, I mean, did that end up coming out to?
I mean, ultimately, I ended up with like 4 or 5 offers. And that's what you want, right? Like you want people. I think people are so like stoked and just excited about getting one. But it's like if you get one, and let's be real, like you don't ever want to. You want to have leverage. I think that's one skill set that people don't really see. Um, but if you're really honest to whoever your interview is and or your recruiter, and they're like, oh, hey, we just want to, and you'll get this a lot. You get recruiters that will ask, and you're probably wondering why, but they'll ask you, oh, are you interviewing with anybody else? You always want to say yes because that creates that demand, right? Or that it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you say, oh, I'm not interviewing with
A
I'm
social
not
proof or urgency. Because
yes,
like
yes.
a lot of times like people do the opposite because they feel like, well, if I let them know that I'm not interviewing with anybody else, well, that just means, okay, we can put you on the side for a little bit and get back to you because there's no real reason. You're not giving them like a reason to make a decision
Right.
versus if you actually tell them like, hey, I have this many interviews and I have this many round ones, this many round twos, this many round threes. Now all of a sudden, win, lose, or draw, they actually have to give a decision to you because it's like either they're gonna if they like you, like let's just say 67%, like they like you, but they're not in love with you, they have to go ahead and
Yeah.
give a decision.
Yeah.
If they are in love with you, they definitely have to expedite the decision, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, 100%. You hit it right on the nail. It's like you hit the hit on the nail. It's pretty much making yourself a hot commodity, right? When you're saying, "Oh, I'm not interviewing," and you want to give them hopes in the sense of like they'll choose you because you don't want them to be like, oh, since he like most people are like, oh, they're either interviewing somewhere else, we don't want to hire him. It's like, no, you want to make yourself known that you're interviewing, like you have like 10 other interviews that you have that you have the upper hand, that you have the leverage, that you know you're like, you know, you have options. Because when that happens, they'll realize like, wow, this guy, he's it's like the dating world, right? Like a girl just doesn't like a girl wants to go for a guy that other girls want, right? If why would a girl go for a guy that no other girl wants? It doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, you know, like he's just another fish in the sea. But if like, sorry, excuse my French, but like if everybody like sees that this dude, like everybody wants this guy, you'll be, yo, man, I want that dude too. Or oh my God, like I want that girl too. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make yourself a really hot commodity. So whether borderline ethical or not, like it's just a white lie. Like if they ask you,
Yeah.
hey, are you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, are you interviewing? Always say yes. I'm interviewing with three other people, and then they'll probably follow up. Oh my gosh, okay, what rounds are you in? You know, make it urgent. Be like, yo, I'm on my second going into my third, or on my third going into my final. Then they'll
Well,
be like, wow, okay, like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It
because
creates that sense of urgency. You become a commodity. They want you. They start fighting over you. It speeds up their timeline, even though when they probably don't have a timeline, but they'll be like, okay, since he's in this like third or final like round, we want to get back. We need to get back to him with an answer. You know, whether or not we want to bring him on to the next round, or we're gonna like pull our trigger and say, hey, we want him, or we want her, or we want they to come on board with us, right? We want to shoot that offer. You want to get the offer as soon as possible. And because you say that you have other options or you're going through other rounds, you might even got to a point where you're like, hey, I'm in my final rounds and I already gotten offers, right? If let's just say you get to the last round of this, you know, this one company that really wants you or you really want this company, you don't be afraid to say, hey, I have other offers on the table, because that also adds to your arsenal of leverages. You can say, hey, yeah, I have an offer, you know, I just received an offer 2 days ago, but I wasn't too sure about that company. You know, it didn't align with my values. You know, so you could use that as leverage to, you know, get yourself a higher offer, right? Because we all know that at the end of the day, in the market, they're literally going to lowball. They got money, but they don't want to pay you, you know, whatever top tier like you know budget that they have. It's like no, at the end of the day, they're just gonna lowball the crap out of you, hoping that you'll say yes because we're in such a market that they can probably bring on anybody that they want. But yeah,
well, you're the safer bet when you're the safer bet when you actually tell them like you have other interviews coming up because the thing is, if you look at it from the hiring perspective, everybody, when anybody's making a buying decision, this is actually why I think going back to having customer empathy is so important. And like people have to view the people that are interviewing them as their customer, is that everybody is afraid of making a purchasing mistake. It's buyer's remorse, right?
yeah,
So when you're showing that other people are buying into said person or said product or said service, you're actually reassuring them that, hey, we're not making a mistake. So if they're like even 70, 80, 95% there, the truth is you don't really know if this person's going to work out for you until 90 days on the job or 30 days on the job anyways.
right,
So the risk that they have is not loss of money, is actually the risk that they have is actually loss of time. So if you're able to show them that I'm minimizing your risk, and one of the ways to do that is, well, if other companies are making this decision to hire this person, or if other companies are, if this candidate is in demand versus another candidate that's not in demand, it's like you're actually social proofing yourself. I just got this message yesterday from somebody that asked me, they said like, hey, Rich, do you think I should go ahead and post up on LinkedIn that I just lost my job and I need one. And I was like, that's the absolute wrong. Like you'll get you'll
Yeah, you
get
definitely do not
1,500
want to do that.
comments of a lot of people that feel for you, but you know what you won't get? You won't get a job because what ends up happening is like it's kind of like those restaurants in the neighborhood that's been around forever that everybody loves, and they're like, yo, people, if you love Tony's Pizzeria, please come out, support us. And people are like, man, I used to love that place, going to that place when I was a kid. And it's like, well, apparently you guys don't love going to that place anymore. Like the reason
Right.
it goes out of business is because like I noticed it's crazy because you recently came out to Chinatown, and we wanted to try, I think, one of the biggest hole in the walls that's actually a Michelin star restaurant that actually has one
Oh
Michelin.
my God, yeah, that was
Right, right, right,
crazy.
right, right. I've been trying to go there for 7 years, and that line was like that even on a Tuesday afternoon before the pandemic, right? If you have
Yeah,
like a really hot product, and the craziest thing is like how many people we saw the line, and that just made them want to get in line more
right,
versus like there were we just I mean obviously because you're visiting New York, but like we're hungry, so we're just gonna go to like the next best thing, right? It's like there were
right,
16, 17, 18 other options over there. But
right.
people are still like getting in line for that,
Yeah.
one
It's
little
like yeah.
price.
And another example like that we could touch upon is like going to a club in New York, right? You're not going to a club where there is no line outside. If you see a line outside of a club, you're like, oh my gosh, like what club is that? Like why is everyone line up on that like club? Like you don't want to go to a club that's like dead and there's no line, right? It's kind of like the same concept, right? So you want to create that sense of demand, but also that urgency where it's like, oh my God, we need to be the first ones in, we want to be the first ones there, or we want to be, the first to have that option, right? So treat yourself in that same sense, right? Like create that sense of urgency, create the sense of demand. And in doing so, even do that during the interviews, right? They're going to ask you a ton of questions and you want to be picky about, you don't want to just do that whole like QA routine, right? Like you always want to like push back and also ask your questions because right, I think there's a lot of people, this is one aspect of the interview process that I also feel a lot of people drop the ball because they're so used to interviewer asking the interviewee, but you in turn the interviewee can also be the interviewer because you also have the power to decide whether or not this is a good fit for you, right?
Yeah, I think when you're setting up, I think like what I observed when I was in, it was actually pretty funny because the first time that we met at the recruiting office, like all the recruiters had to come into the conference room. And then like one of the things that was like we were talking about when you left, that was very memorable to us because you're like, all right, so we're setting you up for an interview with Sony, and you're like, you guys don't have to come in one at a time, like you guys can just all
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
you
Like,
guys all rush me at the same time. And we're like, oh no, no, no. Like, I mean, ultimately, it's like the client. We're not the ones that's ultimately responsible for hiring. Like, we set you up in like a really good light. But I
yeah.
think like where a lot of people kind of mess themselves up like mentally is that when you do one, because like you wanted to get as many reps in before you did the real thing. Like when
Mhm.
you are very selectively applying to the companies that you only want to work at, you really set yourself up for failure because the conversion rate from application to interview is still only at best 7 to 8%. So when you're getting that one interview, it's very precious to you because you don't know when's the next one coming around. So you're really wishing on it like a falling star, right? Meanwhile, it's like somebody else had done about like, 7, 8, 9, 10 interviews. So granted, a lot of those companies that they may not want to work for, they're getting 7 to 9, like 7 to 9 times more reps and practice in than the one person that's just saving themselves for that one special company. And also in the process, companies really companies don't really make up your job. It's actually the team and the people that you're working with.
Mm.
So a lot of these companies that you never thought you'd want it to be, that you never wanted to work at or you didn't think was interesting, if you actually give them a shot, you might realize like there's some very interesting people. Like Jewel, we had a member that landed a product manager job at Jewel way back, thinking that like, oh yeah, I'm promoting like selling a vaping device for kids, right? But he actually got a chance to go out there and meet like, wow, there's some exceptionally smart people that are going to be a part of this team. You just don't really know because I've heard from people that's worked at every major company that it really comes down to your team leader. If you're working for a really like smart team leader, then you're going to learn some stuff and it's going to be a fun time for you to work there. You could work for your dream company, but there are many directors and VPs of product. And unfortunately, like any other job where I think like 80% of managers they said are bad. If you
Yeah.
so you have an 8 out of 10 chance of like working for somebody that's a toxic leader, that's uninspiring, not motivating. The only thing you really have to flex is the logo on your LinkedIn. Meanwhile, all of your friends are like, yo, it's so cool you work at XYZ company. And it's just like,
Yeah. No.
no, man,
Hmm.
I trade places with you like in a heartbeat because, but you if you shoot for the company and the logo, you can get it. But if you focus more on the team, so
Yeah. You never
yeah,
want to judge a book by its cover. And to that point, it's, just kind of from my experience, like I was at Nike for 4 years, right? Never in a million years would I have thought I'd get the opportunity to work at Nike. But when I did, the first opportunity was not my expectation. Like I put Nike on a pedestal and I walked in and I was like, not that it was like a bad, leadership, but it just wasn't my first, like my, imagine you got an offer at Nike. You probably built up this like, idea that, you're going to be working on like this,
the coolest stuff
this,
ever.
yeah, yeah. You think that it's like your perfect project and perfect team and blah, 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 blah. I mean, eventually I did get to where I wanted to go in Nike. But that's only after 4 years of being there, right? I literally had to, work my way through, navigate my way through, like the teams, the departments, meeting, different leadership and then networking and then getting to where I want to go. But yeah, like you said, it's definitely a journey in itself, and you have to understand that um, gunning for a logo um, or a brand or a company, it's such a it's how I don't want to say bad, but it's just not the approach you want to take. I mean, sure, you need to do your do the legwork and understanding, okay, this is the company that speaks to you, right? For me, yes, Nike spoke to me, but Nike is such a huge entity, right? It's like there's so many facets, there's so many, teams, departments. It's like, okay, where do I want to go? But let's just say you don't have a brand or a specific company you want to work for. Give them a shot. Like, someone actually reached out to me and they were like, it was actually Panda, um, the Chinese restaurant, right? Like the fast food chain. Panda, like the recruiter kept on asking me, like, do you want to work for Panda? I was like, yeah, sure. And they asked me, am I gonna like it? I'm like, I'm not, I don't know. And I don't know why, but this recruiter like took it like personally or like was offended. I was like, she was like,
I'll
what do
tell
you
you
mean you
why.
don't know?
I'll tell you why if you really want to know why.
Yo, why? Please tell me, because I'm so confused.
Because like Panda has this. I don't know if they still do it now, but Panda was a client like
Oh shit, no way.
way back in the days, right? I don't know if they work with them still, but um their Panda's known for like other than their orange chicken, they're known for two things. Number one is they number one is like they have they're very big fans of the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Like it's borderline
Hmm.
like a religion. Like they're reading it over and over and over and over and over again. Like how do we go out there and get people to eat more like chow mein? Like they're like, okay, begin with the end in mind, resharpen the saw. They're
Right.
very, very into that. But the second thing here is they have a company culture. Now I don't know if they still do this. They probably still do, but the company culture that they have at Panda is like you have to, they don't care. It's like in the Marines, everybody's a rifleman first. They don't care what position you hold. There's going to be at least one day out of the year where you are serving orange chicken at a Panda location. And a lot of people, they get to the final round and they're like, "Are you guys still doing that? No way." So when they're actually asking you, like, do you want to work at Panda? The real question that they're actually asking you is like, would you be cool serving orange chicken? Um,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. And then the other follow-up is that if you were really that much of a fan of working at Panda, then you would know. So for us, like back in the days, we used to prep people before they went into Panda, like, all right, you love Panda. You're all about the Panda. You have
Yeah,
childhood memories from Panda, and you cannot wait to put on that Panda apron.
yeah.
Go out
And
into yeah. But like,
yeah,
yeah, but like that's the thing. They expect people to like know that. Um,
yeah. And but it's like when they had asked me that, I'm like, dude, you know that when you ask that question, the first thing that pops into anybody's mind, it's a fast food chain. But
that's
coming
not
back to
how
our
they look
point,
at it.
well, exactly. But they can't, but
That's
they,
not how they look. They
well,
look at
that's
it
the
like
thing. No, no,
movement.
but no, but that's the thing though. Like that's the wrong approach, even from an interview's perspective, or even from a company. It's like they can't throw their expectation onto someone that they're interviewing and expect them to be like, oh yeah, this guy that we're interviewing or this girl that we're interviewing that they like love Panda. Like at the end of the day, it's like, do you love McDonald's? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a fast food chain. Like it's, yeah, I ate it when I have it every now and then. I grew up eating it. It's like great. But it's like, yeah, do you want to work for Panda? It's like, no, it's like, but like at the same time, I gave it a shot. I was like, hey, I literally gave the recruiter an honest answer. I was like, I don't know whether or not I'm gonna like this company, but yes, I do like feel like I would do well here, you know? And she was like, she literally wanted, she was so adamant about like wanting me to say like yes or no or like giving her a straight answer whether or not I'm like I won't know until I'm 90 days in, right? Whether or not this like it could be the team that makes it for me. Who knows, right? But off the bat, the interviewer was like, "Oh, um, like, do you want to work here?" I'm like, I really don't know, you know. But whereas Nike or other like brand names, it's like yes, like if you research the company, you understand the values, you understand how they align with your values, and you find yourself like seeing yourself like working there, then cool, go for it, right? But if you don't, I mean, also give that opportunity, but be honest with yourself. Like, do you really see yourself working here? And I guess that kind of like touches onto that point. Like, don't judge a book by its cover because you never know. At the end of the day, it could be the team that makes it for you, right? It could be the leadership that you learn a ton with, and it could be not even a company that you ever thought that it could help you grow. But at the end of the day, like you won't know until you put your foot in.
Well, I guess the moral of that story is if you got the resume and the LinkedIn and the cover letter along with the application bandwidth to go out there and rack up 25 interviews, you have the luxury of really I mean, if you have 25 opportunities to shoot your shot a week, you have the luxury of kind of picking and choosing,
Yes.
having those conversations. The national average right now for a product manager interview is about like two or three a month. So if you only got two or three a month, I mean, you might not have ever eaten at a Panda, but you better go in there and say you're the biggest fan of Panda because
Yeah,
another
exactly.
30, 45 days before you see another chance to
Right,
shot
right,
again. You only get like 12 months out of the year. So if you have
right.
I'm a big fan of like Mark Cuban where he says like sales cures all. So, but with that said, unfortunately, we're at time. I want to thank you, Lawrence. Thank you so much for making time out of your day to go ahead and do this. All of your YouTube videos have done very well on the channel, and we appreciate all the advice
Ah,
that
dude.
you. I'll see you soon, man. Thank you so much.
No, 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 of course. No, no, no. If anything, Rich, thank you for having me on here and thank you for bringing me back. Like you said, we go way back. So, you're the one that kind of helped me through all this process. So the more least I could do is, help on and help the community out here. So yeah, if there's anybody else that has questions in regarding like, my process, please be more than welcome to reach out to me personally on my LinkedIn and just kind of connect with me and I'll go ahead and help you out as much as I can. I know there's a lot of people out there that's just breaking into product management have a ton of questions about how to break in. Like I said, my path is not um, it's not unique to anybody, but anybody can break into product management. They don't need like a QA background. They don't need a BA background. The skill sets that anybody has developed through their career so far can be applied. They just need to understand how to unlock, or how to speak to the skill sets that they have to apply to those of a product manager. So, Rich, thank you again. Really appreciate you, and yeah, let's get this money, man.
Let's get it, man. I'll see you soon.
All right.